A lovely view of the Dorset countryside from Bubb Down Hill. But here we are at the start of a lane that is known as Murderer's Lane. Hello everybody, West Country Explorer here, and I'm going to tell you a bit of a ghost story that's connected to Melbury Bubb. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be telling you the story of a murder that happened here whilst I'm walking along Murderer's Lane. And it's a story that I read about in this book, Paranormal Dorset by Roger Guttridge. Quite an interesting little book. So what do you say, guys? Do you want to come for a walk with me along Murderer's Lane? If so, keep watching. So here we are on Murderer's Lane, and it was on November the 10th in 1694 when a yeoman farmer by the name of Thomas Baker was making his way home from Dorchester, and he'd been selling his goods and he had a lot of money with him. He'd been selling corn and cattle, and he had a couple of bags of coins with him, 2 money bags, and a couple of people had heard about sort of his riches, and they lay in wait for him. They didn't want to steal his money, and as he came along on his horse, one of the guys threw a stone at him and knocked him off his horse. The horse ran off, and Thomas Baker, he was killed. And the 2 murderers, they weren't caught immediately. It was 7 years later that they were eventually caught. And what it was, they were over in Evershot drinking at the pub. It was then known as the King's Arms. I think it's now known as the Acorn. And they were a bit drunk, got into a bit of an argument, and the landlord overheard them arguing. And while in a drunken state, they were talking about the murder they committed, and they were eventually caught. That's how they were caught. They were held in the village lockup overnight, these 2 men, and the next day they were taken off, I think it was to Dorchester, and they were obviously tried and sentenced for murder. They got done for it, and they were gibbeted. It was a village blacksmith at Evershot was given the job of making the gibbets, and they were hung near the spot where they committed the crime. I'll tell you something, this is the trackway wouldn't have looked like this in 1694. It would have looked quite a lot different. So yeah, I'm kind of reading a bit from the book. Yeah, you guys know what my memory is like. It's not too brilliant, so I make no apologies for using various aids to get all the facts. Yeah, so a blacksmith from Evershot, he made the gibbets, and they were fixed to a tree at the scene of the crime, and took them a little while to die. When they were put in the gibbets, the ruling was given they weren't allowed to be given any sort of food or drink or anything like that. Right, now they were still alive when an old country woman named Martha Spigot, passing the gibbet on her way back from Yeovil, and perhaps not knowing the order for them not to receive any succour, heard the killer's desperate plea for water and took pity. She had no water to offer, but instead fished a couple of tallow candles from a basket and pushed one into each man's mouth. Poor Martha also now found herself in trouble, and according to local tradition, was sentenced to 7 years in the county jail. Prison sentences were harsh in those times. All she did was put a tallow candle in each man's mouth, and as a result, off to prison for 7 years. Harsh times, harsh times. I'm not sure if this is part of Murderer's Lane, but it's a nice bit of countryside. But the scene of the crime is known as Gibbett's Pit. I must confess I don't know exactly whereabouts the crime happened, so I'm not sure where Gibbett's Pit is exactly. It was only last night that I remembered reading about the story in this book. It was last night I was making sort of final plans to come here to do the church and the trig point. It was only then I suddenly remembered, like I said, I suddenly remembered about this story. So I didn't have quite enough time to locate exactly where Gibbett's Pit is. But apparently, every year on the 10th of November, the anniversary of the murder, the ghost of Thomas Baker seemed to be coming along in his horse and carriage. And it was, if I get back to the page, yeah, come back there, where is it, yeah, apparently it was in 1865, so I can hear the noise of the traffic on the A37. Yeah, but anyway, 1865, 201 years after the murder happened, a little 7-year-old girl and her parents were walking along the Murderer's Lane, and they saw the ghost of it. And it's when she was in her 90s, this little girl that saw the murder, when she was in her 90s, sort of many years later, she did recount the story, and it appeared in the Dorset Yearbook of 1949-50. So what I'll do is I'll probably put a few little bits of details in the description. Oh, look at that, guys, it's raining now, raining. But there is another YouTube video about this murder. Can't remember the guy's name, but he's a descendant of Thomas Baker. Yeah, so the guy that was killed all those centuries ago, one of his descendants has made a video about it, YouTube video. So what I'll do, guys, is I'll put the link to that video in the description for this one. So if you want to go and check that one out, guys, and go and do it. Alright, so that's it for this video. I was going to plan to go to see another little church, but what with it raining? Actually no, I'll charge over to that other little church and get a bit of, see if I can get inside and get a bit of peace and quiet from the rain. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Hope you've enjoyed a nice spooky little tale. So, look forward to seeing you in the next one, and in the meantime, the usual, stay safe, take care, and God bless.